So it's 11 o'clock. I know people will come in, so I think we're just going to start. Welcome everybody at this Groene Peper session. This session will be in English. Yeah, very nice to have you here. Groene Peper is exists already for many years with different names at first, and we're talking about sustainable future with MBO, HBO, and WO. And there's many organizations that organize this Groene Peper event. Groene Brein, Studenten van Morgen, Duurzaam MBO, RVO, and Surf. And this year, the host of the event is the Hogeschool van Amsterdam. And tomorrow we also have a live event there. This session will be recorded, so if you don't want to have your face in the recording, make sure you turn off your camera. And if you want to ask questions, you can use the chat. There will be time for questions at the end, but just anytime you have a question, just throw it in the chat and we'll have a look at it. So now I will pass on the mic to Noorhan. Enjoy your presentation.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Our presentation will be about an activity that we are doing in our University of Zuyd. My name is Noorhan Aboujidi. I am a lecturer of Smart Urban Redesign, and together with my colleague Herwin Sab, who is a senior researcher in the lectorate and a teacher in our Academy Built Environment, we will take you through 6 years of experience in this CYCLE LIMBURG activity. The content of our presentation will be mainly a short introduction about our research center and defining actually the philosophy behind this CYCLE LIMBURG and its objectives, and why do we focus also on a public space and place making, our methodology and from action research, and how this also resulted in different types of proposals, outcomes and scenarios for diverse locations in South Limburg. And we will end up actually with the more detailed explanation of the philosophy behind CYCLE on the Heerlen Urban Living Lab example and some conclusions. So the Research Center Smart Urban Redesign is one of the 24 research centers, lectoraten, at Zuyd University of Applied Sciences in Limburg, that is located in 3 cities, Heerlen, Maastricht, and Heerlen. The ambition of the research center is to work on sustainability in its broader meaning, but we want to focus more on resilient architecture and urbanism. Our methods is learning by doing and seeing actually the city as our campus, so it's more experimental research and education. And actually our action and applied research is focusing also on the concept of placemaking. So we want to design for and with people to have impacts. So what is CYCLE? The philosophy behind CYCLE is that our view on places, because we believe that places also have a life cycle that can be reinvented and given a new meaning, function, and identity. So by working on a certain location, especially that has a very difficult history, like diverse cities in South Limburg post the mining period, so we envision that we want also to give an impulse, a new start actually, for these locations that suffer from diverse societal challenges via rethinking their identity within CYCLE. So CYCLE is a series of workshops that we organize every year, a 1-week intensive workshop 2 times a year. We started only 1 time a year in November every year with our International Design Week. And now we are evolving to have it actually 2 times a year that we will explain later. And in this workshop, we want to address relevant research questions that we develop with our partners that are so much linked to very specific local challenges in the neighborhoods that we are active in. In this workshop, via the dialogue and the co-creation, we develop also diverse types of scenarios that help actually advance and find solutions for these challenges. So, yeah, we aim at promoting alternative, but most importantly, creative, social and pragmatic urban design in the city and for its public space. We adopt more a bottom-up approach. We want really to activate the local community, mobilize them, also to be part of the decision-making towards any urban development for their area. Yeah. Actually, the dream is to have impacts not only on the physical dimension of the built environment, but expand more to the socio-cultural, economic and environmental aspects. So we can also contribute to diverse transitions in the region from energy transition and circularity. The main challenges in South Limburg that we are dealing with, and these are more the generic ones, not really the very specific local ones, is the loss of identity, especially post the mining period, the vacancy, so many empty buildings, and the shrinking community with actually high percentage of aging community, the declined economy, and we want to create also a counter approach to the top down, so by mobilizing the bottom up. So the main research question that we are asking in Recycle, how can public space contribute to social cohesion and livability in neighborhoods and cities? So we focus actually on public space because we believe that it is the most important ingredient of a vital and successful cities. In a public space, you can present all actually the interests of the local community, and it is actually the space that everyone is entitled to the right to the city, to make a social actually statement or enjoy the city in its recreational aspect, but as well as to make political and cultural statements. We are active in 5 locations that we call urban living labs in Limburg. And and Recycle took place in the past 6 years in Kerkade, Maastricht and Heerlen, that we will show in a minute. So in 6 years, so this is the call for the workshops that we actually did in the past 6 years. So 3 years in Kerkade West, 3 years in Maastricht. Actually, it is also the last year, and 1 year during the corona that we didn't do, and 1 year also 2 years in Maastricht and 1 year in Heerlen, just to highlight that. And actually we would like also to stay in certain locations for an experimental period to see, okay, how we can start a movement and initiate the dialogue and actually the transition. But the ambition is to stay a little bit more to see if via our interventions and the results of our work can also have impacts that we can measure. So we are planning now from now on in Heerlen to stay actually more than 3 years, hopefully to stay there 5 years. As I mentioned, our methodology is action research. So we don't only do research per se and more academic research, but we do a research that can lead to results to be actually tested, realized in a public space. Then we can monitor the impacts, and we do it together in co-creation with local community and the stakeholders. And in the pictures, I show you how we did that during the week by inviting the diversity of the local community. For example, the young children from school to be active in exchanging ideas and opinions and perspectives about the future of their neighborhood. So we believing that the campus is becoming the new, the city becomes the new campus for our students, to activate them and actually connect them to actual and real challenges in neighborhoods. So we, in this week, the Recycle Week, we are positioned in the neighborhoods that we are active in, and you see the diversity of locations from a church to cultural center and a civil society also center. In the past 6 years, we engaged diverse universities, not only on a national scale, but also from the international universities. So we had in only the weeks of the recycle 274 students from 8 disciplines. So we try also to activate more disciplines to work together towards future solutions, believing that the urban questions are so complex to be answered from one discipline. So our students are not only that do not come only from design backgrounds. We have students from health, social work, facility management, and economy backgrounds. And the interesting thing that we had also like people from across the globe, from the Latin American to the Chinese, the Asian countries. And this is an example from the nationalities who actually participated. And they are normally students, international students in international master programs in the diverse partner universities. As I mentioned, we are not only working on local challenges that we actually define with the local stakeholders, we try also to contribute to the other transitions that are of importance not only for the national agendas, but for European and global agendas such as energy transition, circularity, but also like vitality, social cohesion, and so forth. And these were actually the main threads that connected all the 6 recycle editions. And this also help us to reflect on these themes that normally are so flexible, open, generic, and see how they are adapted and need actually to be adapted and linked to regional and local characteristics, especially in South Limburg, where we had certain extremes from shrinkage, aging, sometimes extreme poverty, and so forth. So there is a huge need to adapt and personalize these generic themes towards the region. So as I said, we use placemaking for value creation. So in some proposals are focusing more on the ecological, green, and nature-based solutions. So like from the urban jungle as an extreme example to imagine a nice neighborhood in Kerkade to offer that for the local community. And as I mentioned, in a region where we have a declined economy, also some other solutions looked at microeconomy opportunities in an empty and actually declining economic center of Kerkrade by like bringing the circular economy at play by inserting activities around vintage restoration, renovation, and activation in that neighborhood, and how we can also train the local community who are interested to be part of this type of microeconomy. So the recycle, as I mentioned, is only a one activity, a 1 week activity, but it is part of a complete process that we try to create in the lectorate around certain societal challenges in these neighborhoods. So normally it happens in November, but it is part that is part also of a process where the output of the recycle is used as an input for further research and development in other educational and research activities like minors, graduation, ateliers, stages, and so forth. In the past 3 years, actually, we managed to engage 1,500 students from 12 academies at Zuyd to bring all these interdisciplinary perspectives to very specific urban questions and complexities. I leave it now to Herwin, who will take us more into details on how we did that in Heerlen. And I hope you will have more questions to ask us to elaborate more on some of the things that were mentioned briefly here.
Yeah, thank you, Nuran. I'd like to go into depth in the process and the organization of this CYCLE Limburg Design Weeks, and also show you how that went in the last edition that we organized in Heerlen. So the design week itself, so the Limburg Recycle Limburg week itself is a condensed design week that we organize in November. Several follow-up actions, but of course, yeah, the actual process starts earlier because we need to collect all kinds of input for this design week. So we connect with the local community in different ways to see where the challenges are, where the needs are, how public space is used in the area that we work on. We collect input from students. As Nuran mentioned, we like to elaborate on other student projects. So we make an inventory of analysis and designs, etc., that have been made for an area like this. And we collect input from professional partners in this process. That can be a municipality, a housing association, organizations like that. The next step then is to enter the design week in different phases: an analysis phase, a concept phase, a design phase. And in every phase, we have feedback from both the local community and professional partners. And this design week results in several designs. We have 4, 5, 6 design teams in a week like this. And at the end, one design is elected by both the professional partners and the local community. So that results in one winning design, sometimes 2. And that will be the input for a follow-up process. And that can be a next design week. That can also be an intermediate challenge, or that can be a process where we actually prepare some elements of the design, for example, physically. I will show that by the results of the Limburg 6 Design Week that he organized in Heerlen last year in November. And there we focused on a part of Heerlen North and next to the city center. So you have the city center south, and then just across this very high density traffic road, you go to Heerlen GMS and the district of Hoppersgraaf, and that's where we focused on. We did that with the municipality of Heerlen as a partner, with the housing association Wonen Limburg, with a neighborhood association of Heerlen, so the local community, and the landscaping company Donker Groen. Well, with a collection of universities and together with 45 students. And in this area, we focused on culture and identity and on circular and playful city. This is an area that is quite challenged to meet the cultural diversity of the location and to allow people to express their culture, their identity, but also to see if you can make this area more playful for children and adults, to really use the public space to play, to be active, to meet, and to do that with circular materials. So these were the main focuses during that week. Here you can see a small impression of the 2 sites that the teams focused on. One is the area Lange Jan Park near the Aurora building. I will go into detail on this site later on. And here you have the site around the Spoorsingel. This site is mainly challenged because of the traffic of this road, the empty buildings that we have here and that have been partly demolished already. How to find a new program for this space. And on this location, it was the same, how to connect this area to the city center, but also how to revive this park that is with a lot of litter, is not a really safe environment at the moment. So how we can really give that back to the community. Here you see, just go back to the scheme. Here you see how we, for example, engage the local community and how we collect information. That was, for example, with the inhabitants by a guided tour. So several inhabitants took us around the neighborhood and explained how, how things are developing there, how they use the space, how they perceive space. We had presentations from diverse professional partners as well. Here you see Groene Peper from the municipality of Heerlen. Students worked in a local community center, so really based in the middle of the area that they were working on. And during this week, we had several meetings with inhabitants and with professionals, which students could discuss the outcomes of their analysis, their concepts, their preliminary designs. And at the end of the week, we presented the results to the local community. There also one winning design was selected. That is for the Lange Jan Park location. That was this design, where you see a nice infill for the Lange Jan Park with all kinds of activities on outdoor sports, on playing, on cultural expressions, but also a new footbridge that has been made over this road to connect to the city center, and a first idea for the infill of the courtyard of the Aurora building. So after this design that has been adopted by the municipality as an important vision for the development of this area, we decided with Wonen Limburg, the housing association that owns this complex, this building, Aurora, to zoom in on the courtyard of it. And that would be then one of the inputs for the next design event, the Aurora Challenge. And there we enter a similar process as before, but now zooming in. So we organized the Aurora Challenge together with the Housing Association and with some vocational training institutes. And we connected with City Deal Kennismaken. And there we spent a lot of time getting to know the inhabitants of this area. So we put a lot of time collecting input, getting to know them via a pizza evening. That was one of the first actions that we did. We actually had 2 interns from our electorate that were offered an apartment in the building. So they were really in-house, living there, being part of the community. And we organized all kinds of activities with the inhabitants to collect how they perceive the space, how they use it, how they want to use it. For example, with walk and talk activities, but also in separate sessions with diverse groups of the inhabitants, like a special session with children, with elderly people, with single parents. So that's how we collected a lot of information that was then input for the design week that we organized there. And so we started the design week with presenting the conclusions of this previous period to the designers. There we had 18 students, and we made 4 design teams out of them. They also went around the place together with inhabitants to get a good feeling of the place. We went with some students to a recycle center where they could harvest materials, because one of the constraints of the housing association was that they really wanted to use circular materials, so to reuse materials for the redesign of this courtyard. And then students started designing in a community space in the courtyard, and also in a large tent that was placed on this courtyard. So we were really part of the community for that week. That also made it very easy for inhabitants to join. Some of them joined the whole week, and they became really part of the design teams with the students. Others just dropped in to see what was happening, or to reflect, or to discuss. And at the end of the week, we had a small exhibition on the courtyard of this complex, and the 4 design teams presented their designs. This was the winning design. Very interesting design because it tries to connect the courtyard with the surroundings, and not only limited itself to the inner side of this building. And they made a nice, very flexible arrangement for people to use it by sport activities, social activities, playful activities. And if we zoom in, there you can see some of the renderings that they made for this courtyard. Maybe I forgot to mention that the need for the redesign of this courtyard is that it's now completely paved and not very much used by cars, and it's actually designed now as a parking space. So there's a lot of redundant space which cannot be used because the cars are placed are scattered all over the place. So the idea was to push the cars into one corner and to actually make the courtyard in a really nice green and social and playful space. Now, that's what these students made a very nice design of. That was very welcomed by both the housing association and the inhabitants. And what they liked was mainly the flexibility of the design, so that people could really reorganize the courtyard how they want to use it. One of the elements that we will be producing in a very short moment are these pallet furniture. So the Housing Association has a big event on the 4th of June, where they want to present the painting of the building. You see that the building is painted in a very nice color scheme. There's also a poem projected on the building. This painting was part of an art project with this building, and due to Corona, the opening of this art project was postponed. And now the 4th of June, it will be opened, and then also this design for the courtyard, which will be a next phase in the development of this building, will be presented, and then the inhabitants and the housing association would not only like to see these posters, but they actually want to have something physical started already. So together with them, we decided, okay, let's see how we can make these this furniture. And in this project, we work together with a technical college on MBO level, vocational training, and also a green college, and they will be both part of the whole implementation of this project. And this technical college, Vista, the students were really enthusiastic about the design and about the challenge to make these furniture for the courtyard. And they already started. This is a picture that I received yesterday from them. They already started making this furniture out of pallets that were provided by a company that's associated with the Housing Association. Well, this is the preparation for the 4th of June. And after that, together with some professional partners and with these 2 MBO schools, we will further develop this design and implement over the coming year. Now I'll give the floor back to Nuran for some conclusions.
Thank you, Heerlen. Can you go to next slide? Yeah, so as you see that we are so active in the neighborhoods, we are becoming part of the community, thinking with them, designing with them, and doing things with them. So we are so excited now about the Aurora and what will happen there. So what is the added value of recycle? As I mentioned, it's a new way. It's not totally new, but the way we are doing it in the South is new. So the innovation is that we are teaching our students, like, not only in the classroom, but learning also by doing, being in the neighborhoods, being very active with the local community. And yeah, the campus, the city becomes our campus. It is the interdisciplinary, actually, character of this. So in the Aurora, we didn't have only designers, urban design, architectural design, but also students from the built environment who are more technical, so about circularity, circular materials. And we had students from occupational therapy, like ergotherapy. And they were very important for us because in the Aurora, we had 50% of the community or the inhabitants are 60 plus. So there is also a very specific need that we need to adopt in our proposals that is so much linked to the actual needs of the users of that space. And it is bottom-up and participatory approach. We don't decide, we don't have a blueprint, we don't really say what should happen in that space. It is the local community, the end users and the stakeholders together decide their common agendas and how they want to proceed in developing their space. And we see ourselves as a platform where we can actually facilitate that dialogue, have all the input, and then try to think about innovative solutions. So it's like sort of social mobilization of the local community to have some ownership over their own neighborhoods and public spaces. And we hope that at the end of the day that we also contribute to the revitalization of neighborhoods and public spaces in our living labs, and also contribute to the regional transitions from energy, circularity, and vitality. With that, we end our presentation. It's very short, but we hope it was clear enough and exciting enough for you to learn more about CYCLE Limburg and what Zuyd and its lectoraten are busy with. Thank you.
Thank you. Very, very interesting presentation. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat. I really like the idea of the new campus, the city being the new campus, so that and also the way you work together with local communities and also with all different type of colleges. So I have one question is, how do you, what's the follow-up of the project that you're doing? How do you make sure that there's a continuity in this cooperation? Because it's a great cooperation and it's really valuable. Do you have anything in place for that?
Yeah, actually now this is only a start and impulse. So now in next year, we are going to further develop the interventions. And after realization, we want to stay there also to monitor the impacts. Because now actually the impacts, we don't want only to have it on the climate, so the climate adaptive solutions. So we need to monitor what our intervention actually contributed to the air quality, for example, in a parking lot that is becoming now a more community space, green community space. But most importantly, the impacts on the local community itself. In this social housing, we have 300 tenants, and with so much actually polarization in terms of age, 50% is 60 plus, in terms of diversity of cultural backgrounds, and also the extreme poverty there. So there is a missing form of sense of community due to the fact there is a lack of a space to facilitate that. So hopefully with this community space, little by little, the community will come together and be like interact with each other to see how they can grow as a community. So we want to see also the impacts on the social integration, social inclusion, and also the last dimension is also the impacts on health, especially with these elderly people who live there. So we are planning to stay there for the coming 2 years in Aurora, but and with the municipality, we want to see also Aurora is becoming a catalyzer for the whole neighborhood. Okay, what's next? It is the public space, the park in front of Aurora will be our next action. So we hope we have also a continuity there.
Okay, that sounds great. Yeah, and also I think this community part, that's really most important, because then all other projects will follow from that. So that's great. Are there any questions, other questions from the audience? I don't. Yeah.
I have a question.
Okay.
I dropped in a little late, so it might be that I've missed it, but I did see the project, the Aurora project was displayed online on the Zuyd website, and I was figuring, since you have this sort of a holistic approach to the building, I think there are ways to incorporate for example, the donut or the SDGs in communicating, and also addressing or maybe focusing on specific SDGs or donut goals. Is that part also of the storyline that you want to bring? And because I think those tools can be very powerful for other people to relate to what you're actually doing there, and also giving focus to what you find important as for this project.
Sorry, I missed part of the question. I think that was frozen.
Okay. No, it's about, do you use donut economical theory or SDGs in communicating or research that you use in this project?
Yeah, for example, around circularity, like circular materials that we are using now. So we are having we have a part of our research team who are really focusing on that. Mm-hmm. And now the colleague is sort of developing, an overview how much we are using, how much we are contributing to the CO2 emission by using this recycled material. And so on the 4th of June, we will not only show the pallets, because people will say, oh, they are using this cheap type of material. Maybe the local community will not like it, but we want to highlight in that moment what is the importance of using recycled material by also visually showing them, the impacts on this CO2 emission by using this. So we are now looking for very specific ways of communicating that to the local community, especially that we are dealing with people who are not that much, low level of education, different also cultural backgrounds, sometimes difficulty in languages, they don't speak Dutch, some of the people who live there. So we hope that this will be the first moment where we will have this dialogue with the local community about the importance actually of that we need to be part in this movement, the SDG goals, and how we want to contribute to that. So this is at least how we will start in this project. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, I was just wondering, because I think most municipalities, they do something with the Sustainable Development Goals, and they're very easy to understand because they're available in all languages. If you go to the UN website, you have the SDGs visible in all languages. So I think there can be very uniting and simplifying for some people without losing the depth of content. And of course, a great communication tool. To get it more relatable for other people, then people really know, so that's a specific goal that you're working on. So I just saw.
Actually, I totally. Now I get your question a little bit more. But if you just imagine who lives in this neighborhood, so their priorities and urgencies are totally different. Of course, they are living on a survival mode. So that's why we don't want to overwhelm them with these concepts now. I want to really to start with their own needs, their own urgencies, and address that in our proposals, and indirectly start infusing also these big goals. And hopefully, in certain moments of the process, we will bring them in touch with these concepts. And with focus on the young generation, the kids who live there. So they are really part of this process.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, that sounds very good. I don't see any other questions. And I don't have any. Is there any last comments you want to say, or? I found it a really interesting concept. You really see new ways of teaching that are popping up, and really not just being in school, but really being part of the community. It's actually what this Groene Peper, it really fits into the Groene Peper team. So we saw a lot of these sessions, so it's really good to hear.
Maybe something else?
Yeah.
I can. Have you? I haven't introduced myself properly, but my name is Pavel, and I work at the Amsterdam University of Applied Sciences. I'm a coordinator of the Green Office there, and I have a lot of connections within our university. And I get the idea that you're starting off this collaboration in the city, in this urban environment, with the holistic approach, with designers and researchers from all backgrounds. Have you ever heard of one of our departments? It's called the Digital Society School, because I think that could be a very inspiring place to also see how we, as the Amsterdam University, I mean, we are in the big city environment as well, with a lot of, wicked problems that are connected, and I think only require a holistic approach. And we've been working with multidisciplinary teams from all over the world on those wicked problems, and specifically related to the Sustainable Development Goals. So if you're ever around, feel free to drop by and maybe
Tomorrow.
You're going to be there tomorrow?
Yes.
We'll be there tomorrow as well.
Yeah, but that's the business campus, and the business campus is not where the Digital Society School is. But I'll see if I can get one of my colleagues to join, so they can tell you a bit more about how they work there, because I think it's an inspiring example, and it really matches what you've been setting up with the Aurora project.
Okay. Yeah, and maybe one thing to conclude with is how students, and they spoke to us in the last Aurora challenge also about this, how they learn not only from working in this specific environments where they have the local community to work with, professional partners, and they work actually on site, but also the multidisciplinary approach. So we have students from different universities, different disciplines, and also we had them from first year propenduizen level to master level, combined in design teams, and that was a very nice experience for the students, not only to have students from other disciplines with them, but also the different levels in their education. And so that's really this holistic approach. We have so many layers coming together in this.
That's the complexity that we are trying to actually to handle. Is too much. It's not only the context complexity. So as you mentioned, data is very important. Of course, we are not the experts on data-based urbanism. Actually, data is important for us, but sometimes the available data is not informative enough. If you go to the smallest micro level in the context, and from there where we want also to see how we can get inspired, being more informed while we are on location. So Pavel, I'm really interested to see all this, how you use digital tools as well for similar actually questions. And the interesting thing is Amsterdam, it's like one of the leading, I think it's one of the leading, not only in the Netherlands, but maybe globally on the circular cities concepts, with all the initiatives that they have. And also that we see, like also the polarization. Amsterdam is in a metropolitan areas, also dense area, in comparison to the south, where we are having a totally different setup from urban perspective, shrinkage, extreme poverty, extreme vacancy, like many empty buildings. How you will deal with that? But also we have so many potentials in our region, like the fantastic landscape that we have, the potentials like with the existing community, like from cultural diversity. We want to capitalize on that. So I think we can also learn from each other, as two different actually entities. So I'm in contact with one of your lectores on built environment to Frank.
Is it Frank Kloos?
No, the other Frank.
So there are many Franks. I have about 5,000 colleagues, so it's hard to keep track.
I will send it to you. But anyways, nice. I hope we can see you tomorrow, and then
I'll be there tomorrow, and we'll discuss further. Yes.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Great. Thank you both, Erwin, Nuran, And for the Groene Peper, we still have sessions today, more sessions today. You can still register for. We have the live meeting tomorrow where we have the sustainable and also the keynote speaker, and that's also online. You can just log in online as well if you're not there physically. And next year Groene Peper will be there again. It's the end of May, the week between Hemelvaart and Pinksteren. Say it in Dutch. And we're still looking for a host for next year. So if you think of my school, can be the host for next year, just let us know. And
okay, that's interesting.
Yes.
To consider.
Yes, that's an interesting suggestion, Leonie. These enthusiastic people, they have space, I've seen in the presentations. So
yeah. And nice place to go. So thank you very much, and we hope to see you soon. We'll see you tomorrow.
Everyone.
Oh, see you tomorrow.
We continued. Yeah.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.